Hi guys, so in this video I'm going to show how I painted the Orc from Heroquest, and as you can see I've tried to duplicate as much as I could the card, or how he looks on the card. So obviously in this video I'm going to go through and show exactly which paints I've used, just so if you want to you can follow along and yeah, paint your Orc from Heroquest exactly how he comes in the box. And talking of the box, here it is. So I only got this a few weeks ago as well. I want to get back into playing Dungeons and Dragons, and this is obviously a nice easy way of doing that. Plus this I can play with my children because, well, it is a simplified version, so it's a great way of getting them involved in it. As you can see, I painted up the heroes in the last video, and yeah, now it's a case of just going through and picking them out and, well, get them all painted. So I'm going to kind of do them in little batches, and as you can see there are 4 orcs here, 2 different sort of types, 2 are nice and big long swords and 2 with meaty mighty axes. So we'll be using a variety of paints from different companies, but yeah, I'm going to put it on the screen what paint I'm using, well, what it's called, just so you can see what I've used. So I'm using this paint holder from Red Grass. Yeah, really awesome because obviously it comes with these interchangeable little caps, which means yeah, you can do the old batch process painting just by sort of taking one off, plonking it on, painting it, taking it off, and then doing the next one, which is really cool. I say, because obviously these are 4 orcs, fairly similar, and they're going to be painted in the same way. So these miniatures, yeah, they're pretty well sculpted. There are some sort of little layer lines, or join lines, or mould lines even, that's probably the right word. Yeah, so it's just a case of scraping them off, or using a little bit of sandpaper like I am here. So in general, they're not too bad, but it is worth trying to go through and clean them up as much as you can beforehand. Although generally I always find once I started painting something, that's when I start realising, yeah, I've missed quite a few bits, but by then it's kind of a little bit too late. So I primed my miniatures in black, but I did them a bit too keen there, as I didn't do anything with their base. So their bases, I'm keeping them fairly simple, just adding a little bit of this fine sand, just so there's a bit of a texture to them. Obviously what I will do in the future is, as you all guys probably all know, I do prefer the clear bases, because I like to see, well, the terrain underneath. But obviously as these ones already come on bases, and there's no way I'm going to be able to cut these things off, well, not without ruining their feet anyway. Yeah, leaving the bases on, but then just doing a nice simple look. And then once I'd primed them in black again, it's time to do a bit of dry brushing. So I am often asked which white paint do I use, and to be honest, it's whatever I've got the most of. Yeah, I don't think it really matters too much, because when you do the old dry brushing, if it does look like it's not dry brushed enough, then let it dry and go over it again with some more white, just to make sure the whiter areas are, well, as light as you want them really. So these are the first mobs that I'm painting from Heroquest, and obviously not too surprisingly I've gone with the orcs just because, well, I have a bit of a fondness and love of orcs. So for this one I'm using Malignant Green, as that seems to be pretty similar to the one on the cards. Obviously I could just paint these up any which way I want to, but yeah, I like the idea of making them look exactly how they look on the cards, just because, well, why not? If you are new here and you like what I do, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell, as I am producing a couple of videos each week, and obviously at the moment I am doing quite a few Heroquest ones as well, as yeah, I want to get all of these miniatures painted, as well as the terrain parts, and I am going to be doing a full board soon as well, so keep an eye out for that, well, early next year. And there we go, that green doesn't look too bad. I'm going to lighten it up a little bit later in the video, so sort of keep an eye out on what I do there. So the next one I'm going to go for is good old polished silver for, well, all his armour and the weapons. So you will notice most of the paints I am using are from Army Painter, especially their speed paint range, as well. The coverage on these is just awesome. Obviously with the metallic paints they're not quite as good as the coloured ones, but again I'm going to do something on top of the silver towards the end of the video, just to make it look a bit more like it does in the image. And the other paints that I love using from Army Painter are their air range. So these are meant for the airbrushes, but they are thinned down paints, which makes them ideal for, well, putting over the top of other paints, which is pretty cool. So yeah, definitely stick around to the end of the video guys and see what I do with the Army Painter War Paints, their air range. So these orcs are going to be fairly simple to paint, as well there's not too many colours involved in these, which is pretty cool. So yeah, using a bit of ruddy fur, as you can see. I love this one as the brown, and this is going to be for all their belts and straps. So yeah, there's not too many bits here for the brown. So obviously most of these is kind of like the green and the silver. Although say the silver on the card does have a bit more of a bluey sort of tint to it. But again, we'll come to that well, very soon. So I will eventually get round to painting all the mobs from the Heroquest sort of starter set box. But yeah, if there's any ones you want to see me paint next, by all means let me know in the comments, and yeah, I'll do that one next. So I will be doing them sort of like in batches. So I know the skeletons, there's 4 skeletons or so I'll be doing them all together. So for the cloth, the nearest one I could find was this Goddess Glow. Not one I've ever used before, as well I kind of think it's a bit of a pants looking colour. It's not quite brown, it's not quite red, it's not really even purple. It's, well, somewhere in between, I think, all of those colours. But in this case, yeah, it fits perfectly in the colour that's on the card. So yeah, it's nice to be able to finally use a colour that's been sitting on my on a shelf for quite some time. So I have recently got hold of the Green Stuff World dipping inks. Don't know if you guys have ever used them ones. I know I certainly haven't, well, apart from a few sort of the larger ones that I got a good year or so ago. But yeah, I've just received the Mega Paint set. So yeah, maybe in the next video, whatever it is I paint in, I'm going to see how well I can do it from the Green Stuff World dipping inks Mega set. So I'm really pleased how these orcs are all coming out. Say batch process painting is definitely the way to go, makes things a lot quicker and easier. And yeah, loving how the fact these are looking, well, very similar to the card. I say the only thing is though, with the metal armour they've got, it does lack a little something, and it's this. It's a blue tone wash, which I'm just going to paint straight over the metal. Being a wash, yeah, it's very sort of translucent, thinned down. Obviously the more you apply it, the bluer you can make things look. But yeah, this is definitely giving the well, the required look of their armour. Makes it a bit more battle worn as well, as obviously it will sort of look darker in the good old nooks and crannies. Also let me know guys if you like the idea of me putting up on the screen yeah, all the paints that I use, or the colours that I use. And if you do, then yeah, I'll continue to do that. So the next one is going to be this, obviously a bit of chain going over his shoulder. I've only got brazen copper, which seems to be sort of the nearest one, although this does have a bit more of a shine. So I almost used a brown for this instead, but then I thought, no, I like the idea of using the copper, plus this is another one of those paints I've had sitting around for ages and not used. So it's always good to sort of use them just to sort of see just how well they look, and whether or not it's one I want to keep using, well, whenever the opportunity arises really. So the other great thing with this red grass paint handle, sometimes you don't need to actually pop things off, pop them on, because, well, you can still hold on to the little base bit there and paint whatever it is you need. So yeah, sometimes I pop them off, and sometimes, as you can see, well, clearly I don't pop them off. The next thing to do is to make their weapons look a bit more sort of beaten and battered and sort of used. So using a good old shade non-oil, or non-oil shade even. Yeah, I've got a little holder that I 3D printed to hold these Citadel pots, just so, well, one, they don't fall over, and two, the lid keeps open, which is pretty cool. And I've been lucky enough that I've never ever sort of, well, spilt any of these Citadel pots, mainly because, well, I use this nice little 3D printed pot holder. And yeah, it's just a case of going over the weapon, again, just to sort of make it look a little bit weathered, a little bit battered, and yeah, add some sort of shades to it. So I do love using sort of washes of all kinds, and this one's certainly good enough for this. And good old batch painting, say, really is the way to go when you've got several figures that are, well, pretty similar in colours. And obviously these guys are, well, extremely similar, as they're all identical in colours. And the next colour up, yeah, I want to paint their teeth, although you can just about see their teeth. But I'm going to do it in bleached bone. So this is one of the air range paints from Army Painter. So it's nice and thinned down, which is great, so you don't have to mess about doing that. And yeah, literally just take it straight from the pot and gently put it on. So I can just about see his teeth. Yeah, obviously they are orcs, they do have the old sort of tusk looking things. And I'm going to try and do a few of the toenails and the fingernails, but again, you can't really see them that much on these sort of orcs as compared to, well, the good old Warhammer orcs, where you can definitely see their long nails and big sharp teeth. So next up, I'm going to use some Bogey Green. Again, this is another one I've never used. I do love some of the names that they come up with. And for this, I'm just going to go over more of the raised areas on the orc, especially obviously those lovely muscles that they have, just to sort of give more definition to the, well, the darker areas then. So it's kind of a bit of highlighting, I guess. But yeah, just here and there, going over some of the muscles, some of the raised areas. Again, this will just make the darker areas, well, look more darker. So I'm yet to play Heroquest, but fingers crossed once I've got this video edited, uploaded, released, and yeah, then I'm going to get my children, gather around a table, and we're going to have a go at playing this game. Fingers crossed. As we did have a go at playing Dungeons and Dragons, a good year and a half ago, and yeah, it was the old case of the interest was there for a bit, but then it waned, and that's why I like the idea of the Heroquest, because it is definitely a much simplified version. So it's definitely more of a case of going in, looting treasure chests and rooms, and well, if it moves, you hit it with your sword or you chuck a fireball at it. So yeah, it should be interesting, should be fun, and hopefully in the next video I do, where I paint more of these mobs, I'll better let you know how we all got on. Okay, so that's these guys pretty much done now. I've just got the tricky bit next of trying to do, well, I'm not too sure if it's tattoos or they've just smeared the blood of, well, the people they have just killed. Either way, I'm going to use this, a great looking name, Wazdaka Red. And yeah, I'm going to have a go at doing some thin lines on their arms and then splodges on their head, legs, fingers, and well, wherever else I think they need to have some splodges of this stuff. So it's not too strong or vibrant a red, which is pretty cool. As yeah, so it will look like it's rather dried blood, or say it could well be tattoos, I'm not too sure. Either way, it looks pretty cool on these orcs. Definitely makes them look a little bit more fearsome, which is pretty cool. And as I want to make them look exactly like they do on their cards, yeah, I'm going to sort of add them in the same sort of look, fashion and manner as the cards do. Just to say, I really like the idea of them looking, well, how they're meant to look on the cards. So it really hasn't taken too long at all to get these orcs painted. And that is obviously the joy of using speed paints, as that really does do, well, a lot of the work for you. As you can tell, I've only used a few sort of like normal sort of pigmented paints, and yeah, they've come out really well. Although I am looking forward to trying out all the Army Painter War Paint Fanatic range when they come out, as yeah, they do look rather good, and they are definitely strong pigmented paints which will do, well, great coverage, which is just awesome. So one of the last few things I want to do is to make their weapons again look a little bit like they've been used. So I'm using some poppy red here. This is obviously the speed paint, so it is quite sort of wet and watery, and the good thing here is I put loads on, but then just by smearing it with my thumb, it kind of makes it then look like it's dried blood, and then you can just put a little bit more sort of blood over the top. So it just has the two variations there of a bit of dried blood and then a bit of fresh blood from, well, a recent kill. So now it's coming up a bit that well, sometimes I don't often do, and that's eyes. Yeah, everyone hates doing eyes, but I'm going to give it a go. And the eyes of these orcs are, well, they're going to be yellow, so I'm going to use this Flash Gits Yellow. If you guys have got any sort of techniques, tips, tricks on how you do it, yeah, by all means let me know. As well, I always seem to have problems here, and I think it's more to do with my depth perception, as my hands are normally steady. Obviously I wear glasses, so everything's reasonably in focus, but when I try to get the brush near the miniature, just to get that one little drop of colour in their eyes, yeah, I feel like I take for ages trying to sort of move into position, and then when I do, I generally hit the wrong area. So quite often I have to go in afterwards and just do a little bit of tidying up. But yeah, eyes, I definitely prefer, well, all my mobs or creatures rather asleep or wearing masks or helmets. Anything to sort of stop me from having to do eyes. But yeah, I've given it a go, it's not too bad, and luckily I'm not going to zoom in on this so you can't see just how bad an attempt this really was. And then the final thing to do is just to tidy up the base. Yeah, and just use a simple black. So I'm using the TT Combat Black, as it's, well, does what it says on the tin, it's just a plain black. Obviously any black will do for this, but say when I do come to sort of printing out my own figures for a good old Heroquest, yeah, I will be using some nice clear bases, especially when I do build the full 3D looking board game bit. Yeah, I would definitely want to see the base, as it would, well, I would have spent a lot of time painting and getting everything ready. Okay, so that's these guys all done and, well, ready to play. And there we go, one Heroquest Orc ready for action, to stop all those heroes from taking all the treasure and, well, succeeding in whatever quest they may do. So again, I'm really pleased how these have come out. Yeah, very identical to the cards, which is just great. Fun to paint, easy to paint, and yeah, there we go. I've got 4 orcs ready for action. So the question is, guys, what do I paint next? So I'm going to be painting all of them, but yeah, if you guys can decide what I paint in the next video. So leave comments down below. There's another video on the screen, give that a click, see more what I do. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave comments, all that good stuff. Big shout out and thank you to all my lovely patrons, those are my monthly sponsors for helping, well, keeping this channel going. Okay guys, you all take care, I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.